Hi, my loves, and welcome back to I'm On Your Side with me, your host, Sierra Boudreau. Happy Sunday after Thanksgiving, or just week after Thanksgiving. We have fully kicked off the holiday season with Halloween gone. Halloween isn't the holiday season. Halloween is the precursor to the holiday season, but it feels kind of like it gets roped in because it is right there, and it's like the tipping point after Halloween. All bets are off. It's full holidays. You message me the day after Halloween. I have the right to say, let's hold this through the new year. Or to the new year. I'd love to hold through the new year, actually. Circle back with me in 2 years at this point. But let's push it past the new year. It just seems like that's what I did so much when I worked corporate. Not even really, it wasn't up to me. I wasn't, the boss of the boss or anything. I was just kind of like doing what I needed to do. But so many conversations around this time of year got tabled and pushed to the new year. And so I wish you so much luck with pushing as much as you could possibly want to the new year, and let yourself just rest a little bit and wind down a little bit as much as you can. I know that oftentimes jobs are really demanding and you don't actually have any time or any control over things like that, but just make sure that you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself through these last couple of weeks of the year. The year has flown by, which I can't even get into the fact that this year has flown by, the fact that it is November, the end of November in 2024. I distinctly remember the end of last year feeling so anxious about 2024, and just like so nervous about what was to come, because 2023 was one of the best years of my life. I accomplished so much and I grew so much, and I got to know myself in a really different way than I had even expected to in 2023. And then 2024 just being the first full year that I've worked for myself, the first year that I have completely relied on myself and my passions for my income, which years and years ago, it was a dream, and it is still a dream now, but just like literally it was a dream. It didn't exist in reality yet. It was just something that I wanted so bad and something that I knew was coming, but I didn't know when. I didn't really know how. I just knew it was coming. And then 2024 being the year that I get to actually live in that reality, and the year that I made incredible friends, the year that I grew professionally, I grew personally, I did incredible work in therapy. I mean, I really had no idea what 2024 was going to hold for me. I remember sitting in so much anxiety at the end of 23 thinking, how is it going to top this? How is it going to get better than this? 2023 changed a lot for me. My entire 20s, really, my early 20s through my mid 20s has just been this merry-go-round, right, of like growth, development, change, shifting. Oh, you thought you knew something, you actually don't know anything at all. Start over and try again, and whatever. It's been a really, really interesting 6 years, my 20s, and then specifically 22 to 26 has been a really interesting 4 years. And I think I'm captivated by how much can truly change in the matter of months, how much can truly change in the matter of years. And I'm thankful for it at the same time. But I do think as the years wind down, I start to feel kind of some of that anxiety of like, okay, how is next year going to be better? How is next year going to be different? And I'm working on releasing that, because if I spend the last quarter of my year so anxious about what the next year will be, that is a quarter of my year every year that I am wasting, and I am not being present, and I'm not just sitting and like resting and enjoying what the year that's passed has been. It's like October passes and I'm like, okay, next year, what are we doing next year? What are we voting next year? Where are we going next year? And so when is the time for me to actually process this year being even better than I hoped it was going to be, And so trying to focus on contentment and just being satisfied with where I am, while also remaining eager about the next step and hopeful about the next step, but knowing that there needs to be room for both. There needs to be some kind of balance there, and I'm still working on striking that balance, but all a work in progress, isn't it? So Thanksgiving has just passed, and now we are full steam ahead. It's Christmas. Obviously, I have my Christmas tree up. You guys see that behind me. The whole house is kind of decorated for Christmas at this point. I was not slow about it. I need to actually film that for you guys and show you on like TikTok, Instagram, things like that. Show you what I've done around the house, because it just looks so good and so cozy. And I just figured we needed kind of a cozy episode this week. I know that the holidays bring up so much. Like holidays bring up stuff like I was just talking about. They bring up stuff with family, personally, with friendships, just something about being in your hometown can feel so unsettling. I haven't been back to League City since I think Riley, my childhood best friend, got married, and she got married in 2022 because Sydney got married in 21. So Sydney got married in 21. So I was back in League City for her wedding. And then actually Riley's wedding was not in League City. It was in Dallas. And you're like, who are these people? What are you talking about? But the last time I was in League City was 2021 for Sydney's wedding. And I just remember, and this is why I got it confused, because I called Riley and I was like, hey, I feel so out of my element. I feel like I am regressing emotionally in some way. Just the energy of the space feels really heavy, and it feels like I'm trying to make myself fit back in here. Even for just a weekend, like even for a few days, I feel like I don't fit. I feel like I'm being stuffed somewhere that I don't belong. That's just like the way that it felt in my hometown. And it's not to say that I hated growing up where I grew up. I grew up in a suburb outside of Houston. It wasn't bad at all growing up in League City. I mean, truly an idyllic place to raise a family, all that stuff. I completely understand why my family chose it. But there's this energy about League City, especially just my experience there, where I never really felt like I fully belonged there anyway, like not even being removed and then coming back, but I never really fully felt like I belonged there. It's very white. It is very affluent. It is very keeping up with the Joneses, but be low key about it. It's not everyone is, driving around with like these really nice Porsches, but there's this expectation of whatever you have the newer version of it. What most people lived in these really nice subdivisions with these huge houses. And just back in the years that I was growing up, I mean, that money meant a little bit more than it does today with inflation. It comes for us all, but just a really interesting place to grow up where I think I learned a lot about perception very early on, like very, very young, how I was coming across, I was perceived, especially being a Black woman in this predominantly white space. It feels like I was constantly othered in some way. I was too Black for the white people, and then I was too, quote, white for the Black people, and I didn't really feel like I belonged fully, but I was trying so hard. And so there's that, and then there's also just like so many memories with being a teenager in a place. Being a teenager is fucking hard, and like even being 26, I can look back and be like, while you truly had it better than you thought that you did, it was still heavy. It is still hard, because the thing about hindsight is you can look back and be like, no, things actually weren't that bad, and you did have the things that you needed, and you did have incredible friends, and really were so lucky to have a lot of the experiences you had. Like I can look back and fully believe that. And I even in the moment when I was a teenager growing up in League City, like I knew that was true to some extent, but you don't have the foresight to know the heaviness that waits for you in adulthood, or even just like the reality of life that waits for you in adulthood, heavy or not. You don't know what's coming yet. So everything that you're experiencing feels like the world's biggest deal. It's, a newborn baby cries and cries when they're hungry. They don't know that their mom is going to come in there in 10 minutes and feed them because she has the baby on a feeding schedule. Like everything feels so huge while you're in it because you don't have the foresight of what's to come. And it's even heavier when you're younger because you also don't have a lot of previous experience, right? So like now at this phase of my life at 26, I have experienced a lot of stuff. And so going forward in my life, I can say, yes, this is hard, but back when you were 24, something in that year was harder. I have a little bit more hindsight to make me feel protected, and just like emotionally, there is another side to it. But when you're young, you don't have that. And so the heaviness remains. And going back to our childhood environments, our families, our friends, the roads we used to drive down, just all of that brings stuff back up in us. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice by trying to discredit that and be like, well, I'm grown and I should be over it. I have been so far removed from this hometown for years. It doesn't matter anymore. I was just a kid. I was just in college, whatever. Like, it does us a disservice to not actually process how we feel, because it is, no matter what, gonna come up. Like, your feelings exist to tell you something, to show you something. And I fully believe that we are obligated to tap into that in the time that it feels safe and responsible to do so. So, what I'm trying to make space for in this episode this week, for us to be able to process through what the holiday season does to our bodies emotionally, what it does for us physically, how it feels to be an adult in these different scenarios around the holidays. And the holidays, like I said earlier in the episode, have changed so much for me over my life. I remember being like very young and feeling like the holidays, especially Christmas, was this great big celebration. There were so many presents under the tree. I distinctly remember like sneaking down the stairs because I didn't want the steps to creak, and counting my presents under the tree and being so excited. I knew Santa wasn't real from a very young age, but I'm so sorry if I'm the one to tell you Santa Claus isn't real. I really thought at this point in your life you would know, but if not, I'd go downstairs, I'd count on my presents, I'd go back upstairs, and I'd be so giddy and I'd be so excited, and I would unwrap all the presents super quickly and whatever. I remember it being so magical and so special. And then I think as I got older and started understanding the dynamics of my family and started to understand that the holiday season meant a lot of stress for my family financially, it didn't seem so magical anymore. It didn't seem so fun anymore, right? It's like, oh, I have all of these presents, but now my mom is really stressed out for 2 months because, we have to decide what's getting paid, what's not getting paid. And I don't want it to come across as if like we were lacking our necessities. It wasn't like that, or at least if it was at times, I didn't really notice a trickle down of that. It was just the acknowledgement that money wasn't going as far as it used to, that having children is expensive. And even now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, no, having kids is so incredibly expensive. Even if you have a ton of money, even if you are rich, like having kids is expensive. So working a normal job, or maybe you've been promoted a couple of times, and then raising 2 kids, also taking care of your parents and having this mortgage, having bills, like that was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on my family. And I think that that's only something that I can fully acknowledge as an adult. I just remember, back in my childhood being like, okay, well, everyone's going to get really stressed. Everyone's going to get really quiet. And, we're not going to spend time together, whatever, around the holidays. And so I started to feel like there was this heaviness around it. And I stopped looking forward to it so much because I just didn't want that tension that already existed so heavily in my childhood home. I didn't want it to be magnified around the holidays. And there were some years in my childhood where we would all be in the kitchen cooking together and laughing and watching movies, the whole day of Christmas, the whole day of Thanksgiving, and it being so special. And then I also remember some years where I was just like in my room all day, and really the holidays didn't seem fun at all. And I just remember seething with jealousy, having this deep envy, because I would get online, and social media wasn't even what it's like now, but even still I would get online and everyone seems to have these matching pajamas, and everyone has this huge extended family, and everyone is laughing, and there's so many stories of everyone being together, and it just looked so perfect online for everyone else. And for me, I felt lonely, I felt isolated, I felt by myself. And even on the good years, I remember being like, but it's not as good as theirs, which comparison, we know the saying, but I remember just never feeling fully satisfied with my holiday experience. First Christmas, we get kicked out of our dorms. At first, like winter break, we get kicked out of our dorms, and I lived in the dorms, obviously, so I had to go home. And that beginning feeling of like, I don't fit here anymore. Whatever comforts I had, whatever safety net that I had here seems gone now. Like I'm no longer comfortable here at all. My family had moved. My granddad had passed away when I went to college, and my grandma had moved back to Maryland. My mom and my sister moved. Like it was a whole different house. I wasn't going back to my childhood home anymore. It just felt so different. And I remember just thinking like, I can't do this anymore. And I don't think that I have to do this anymore. My first semester in college, I saw personhood and I saw autonomy And I grabbed it so fast. I mean, literally so fast. I was like, oh, I can be my own here. I can be individual and separate here. And I can build whatever I want to build here. And I did that. And I'm so thankful I did that. I'm so proud of myself for doing that and for knowing what I wanted and going after it. College was an incredible experience for me, just autonomy wise. And so I go back from college and I make a plan for summer because I was like, oh, I'm definitely not spending a whole summer there. Like, there's no fucking way. I remember thinking, like, what are the rest of my holidays gonna look like? Like, what am I gonna do if I'm not going back home with my family and if I don't have a boyfriend? Because like I see that some people spend holidays with their partner. So like, if I don't have a boyfriend, like what am I going to do? Am I just going to be in my college apartment by myself? What is that going to look like? And I remember feeling a little bit uncomfortable with that idea of spending it completely by myself, but I also remember feeling the sense of relief of like, oh, I don't have to go spend Christmas in League City. Like I can actually just stay here if I want to. And while that may feel a little lonely and a little empty, it also feels freeing and there's joy there. And I mean, it felt empty in the way that like, I knew it wasn't empty eternally. I knew that something was gonna come. My holidays were gonna look different at some point in my life. It wasn't this permanent loneliness, but it was just like a very present in the moment loneliness. And so on and so forth, spent holidays in different ways. But with Thanksgiving being here this week, I've been thinking so much about the holidays and what they've been for me through different phases of my life and different Thanksgivings. And Thanksgiving is so different in the way that Christmas feels very much like you are with your family. You don't really go to other people's Christmases because Christmas, I think part of the reason is because Christmas has presents and like it's uncomfortable if somebody is doing Christmas with you and then like you and your family don't get them presents or they don't bring presents. And so there's like sitting there watching the family. It's just kind of a different holiday, I think. But Thanksgiving is very much like you bring people to your Thanksgiving. You bring friends, partners, whatever. It's the more the merrier. It's, all of that. And so thinking about this Thanksgiving and how I kind of like roped in Thanksgiving and Christmas together, just when I think about like my holiday blues. And with Thanksgiving, I spent a lot of Thanksgivings with other people. After I went to college, I did Thanksgiving back with my family because Thanksgiving, Christmas was combined, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe we went back for like a week. I'm pretty sure I did Thanksgiving with my family though. And then the next Thanksgivings did with my boyfriend, and then I did a study abroad Thanksgiving, and that was actually really fun because obviously I am American and a lot of my study abroad friends were not American. They were from all over. And so they were like, it's American Thanksgiving. We have to celebrate for the Americans. There are 3 of us who celebrated Thanksgiving because we were from the States. So we like went to the little grocery store and got as close as we could to American food, like American Thanksgiving food. And there was not much that was very close at all. Like it was not a 1-to-1 comparison, but it was just so fun to celebrate in that way and just to be around chosen people, chosen family, and be in such safe and beautiful community. I will look back at Thanksgiving so fondly for the rest of my life. Truly unreal. I want to speak to those of us really, because I've been in this situation. Actually, I'm in this situation this year again, because I don't spend Thanksgiving with my nuclear family. When you're invited to spend Thanksgiving, Christmas, any kind of holiday with someone else's family, it is so easy to feel like they invited you out of pity, that they don't really want you there, that you're an outsider, that you don't have a place there. You tell yourself all of these stories because it's almost like you're trying to protect yourself and you don't want to get excited about it. And then they're like, well, oh, actually you can't come because there's not enough food, or you can't, whatever. Like you don't want to be uninvited, or you don't want to feel uncomfortable when you're there. And so you just kind of tell yourself that like nobody really cares if you're there or not. At least this is stuff that I told myself. This is kind of the experience that I've had anytime I've been invited to spend Thanksgivings, Christmases, whatever, with other people's families. It'd be really hard if you are someone who spends most of your holidays with other people, or you are often invited to other people's celebrations and you don't really have celebrations of your own that you're inviting other people into. And without that perspective of being someone who is hosting or bringing someone else into your family unit or your loved ones' Thanksgivings or holidays, it can feel really hard to put yourself mentally in that mindset of the point of these holidays, the point of community, the point of loving people is to build longer and longer tables. Like the point is to bring people in. It should not feel so exclusive and so closed off. And it's really hard to think about that when you're the one constantly being invited in. But I had to get over that because the alternatives some years were like spend the holidays by myself or spend the holidays with other people's families and just allow myself to believe that I'm wanted there. Allow myself to believe that I am invited there and I deserve to be part of community, of celebration, of family. Like I deserve that inherently. And I deserve that also just because I want that. And you're in your head anticipating all these questions that people really aren't going to ask you. No one's going to be like, why aren't you spending Thanksgiving with your family? Or, I mean, and if they do, they're not going to say it like that. Like, no one is trying to make you feel uncomfortable or unwanted when you are invited into that space. And if they do, that is now a space you know you don't want to be in anymore. And that is a perfectly good thing to learn anyway. So it can just feel really overwhelming because you feel like you're the odd one out being invited and you're never fully in. You're just kind of like there for the day, lingering around. I want to challenge you to get out of that mindset. I want to challenge you to stop believing that you don't deserve community and closeness because you do. You really do, especially around the holidays. And I also want to speak to those who do have what I called earlier holiday blues, where it brings up so much heaviness in you that you think it is just better to be alone because you don't want to bring anyone else down or you don't want to bring anyone else into your pain and into your isolation and loneliness. But the way out of loneliness is not isolation. The way out of loneliness is community. And there is nothing wrong. Actually, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to reach out to the people that you love, that love you, and say, hey, I need people right now. I need people to celebrate with. I need people to laugh with. I need people to just sit with. Like I need someone in my corner. And watch how people show up for you. Watch how people rally around you. I know that the holidays can bring up so much hurt. And you think the easiest thing to do in that situation is to guard everyone else from your hurt and sit and fester in it by yourself. The only thing that guarantees is that you're going to feel worse, my love. Like the only thing that locking yourself away and sitting online and scrolling and watching everyone else celebrate, everyone else have a great time, everyone else feel loved, and putting your phone on do not disturb so you're not responding to anyone's messages, anyone's effort to reach out to you, the only thing you're getting out of that is feeling worse. And I also want to remind you that just because you spend the holidays alone doesn't mean loneliness. You can take pleasure and joy in your own comfort, in your own company. Those two things are different, right? Like choosing to spend the holidays alone because you genuinely enjoy spending time with yourself. You want to reconnect with yourself. You want to just be at peace with yourself is different than refusing to connect with people because you feel like your pain is too big, your hurt is too deep, your loneliness too impenetrable that you can't open yourself up. It is a different thing to be your own community, and that is so beautiful, to not believing you deserve community and you not being that community for yourself either. Different things. And I just want to remind you that you don't deserve that. And I know how hard it is to believe that when you're in it, when you're in that really low place. But if no one has told you, if you have cut yourself off from other people telling you, let me tell you that you deserve to be in community. You deserve to be loved and to love others. Like you deserve to show up and be welcomed in and invited. And to the person who is being their own community, the person who is creating their own traditions, who is being their own safe space, I need to say how proud of you I am because I have also been that person. I've also been that person who says, I will not go to a place that I don't feel safe or I don't feel loved or I don't feel wanted, that I feel like I have to make myself smaller, that I have to shift to be invited into. I won't go there. And I would rather be by myself than in a place where I have to recover for a week, 2 weeks after. I can just be in my own company and that can be a good and beautiful thing. But there also might be some loneliness in there. There might be some pain in there. And that is so okay. Like, you deciding to spend the holidays by yourself because you would rather be in your own community and your own comfort than in a place that is not healthy for you is incredible, and also very, very hard, right? Because you're still going online and seeing these things. You're still wishing for your community, for your family to show up, for a different reality of the holidays. You're still hoping for that. And that can be really hard too. I know for me, that was incredibly hard. But what a beautiful thing to say, even though I still feel kind of lonely, even though I wish so bad I had family and I had a safe space to celebrate in. Even though I wish I had that, I am so thankful I have this. I am so thankful I have myself, the version of myself who refuses to be in unsafe, painful, hard places that do not serve me at all. Like, all the years that I decided that for myself, all the years that I refused to put myself in really painful situations, all those years were me taking one step towards the reality of the holidays that I have now. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful that I stood by myself even when it was a little bit difficult, because a little bit difficult compared to wildly unsafe, unpredictable, and painful is actually, to me, a fair exchange. This year, I'm spending Thanksgiving with Alex and his family, and I'm really excited. We spent Christmas with them last year and had truly the best time. They are so welcoming and inviting and loving. I really do enjoy the time that I get to spend with them, and just getting to spend holidays with Alex is so special to me. It is so incredibly special to me. And just like the thought, oh my God, I'm getting emotional, but the thought of this being the beginning of the holidays that we're going to get to celebrate together, should we have children, the love that they'll be born into, the safety that they'll be born into, the holiday traditions they'll be born into, like, that means so, so much to me, that hopefully my kids won't have to know the pain of like spending holidays alone and wishing you had something else, like wishing you had a safe family to be with. Like, hopefully they never have that feeling. And every holiday season that I get to spend with Alex, this is going to be our third one. Like, every holiday season that I get to spend with him just feels so special. And like, we have a deeper bond and a deeper connection. And I am just so excited about the rest of this year. I'm excited about what next year holds for us, for our relationship. And I just love him. Okay. And maybe it's the Thanksgiving spirit, but just this gratitude and this luck and this joy that I have. Because I spent so many holidays wishing and hoping and just like waiting for it to be my turn, waiting to have my own family to celebrate with, and a little family that Alex and I have created with the dogs. Like, it just is so special to me. It really is. And so I get a little bit emotional when I think about it, but especially around the holiday season and just knowing how much I wanted this. And I say all the time, you guys, that like, when we're jealous of someone, when we're jealous of someone else's life or something that they have, that jealousy often, like emotions, exists to tell us something. That jealousy is saying like, you can have it too, and it's probably sooner than you think. This pang that you feel is a push towards what you want. And anytime that I got online and I felt jealous, anytime I was hearing about my friends' holiday breaks and I felt jealous, anytime that I just felt lonely and by myself and like I didn't belong somewhere, it all led me to what I have now. And what I have now is so incredibly special to me. And I hope that it is never, ever lost to me. And I hope that that serves as some hope for you, that like the way that you feel right now, if you're lonely, the way that you feel is not how you're always going to feel. And community is what you make of it. You get to create and build your own family. It doesn't just have to be blood. It does not just have to be blood. You can decide who is in your family, who you're going to show up for, who are your people in your community, and you can celebrate with them. And I bet that they would love nothing more than to celebrate with you. There is this energy around Thanksgiving where people start to believe that they can tell you how much you should eat. They notice how much you eat. They notice how little you eat. They notice what you're eating, how you're eating. It's so hyper-focused on food. For people who have poor boundaries or poor respect, honestly, to bring it up to you, I want to remind you that you are well within your rights to tell somebody that it is weird to have opinions about bodies that are not theirs. It is weird, you guys. It is strange to look at somebody else's body and believe that you should tell them what they should do with it, how they should dress it, what they should be eating, how little, how much. It's weird. And if people do that to you, truly, you should be allowed to tell them to fuck off. But it's family and we don't want to ruin Thanksgiving for, I get it. It's just that your body is the only one you're ever going to live in. And it is your right and your obligation, I would say, to protect it. And also, you are allowed to eat as much as you want. You're allowed to eat as much as you want. You're allowed to enjoy it. You're allowed to celebrate. You're allowed to snack. You're allowed to pick. You're allowed to have a little bite. You're allowed to have a whole plate. You can go back for seconds. You can go back for thirds. If you want pie later with ice cream on top, you can have that too. You're allowed to eat and you're allowed to enjoy, because I want to remind you of two things. The damage you are doing to your brain by counting calories in the midst of such a celebration is far worse than the perceived damage you believe you're doing to your body by just eating your fill. It is exponentially worse to make your brain and your body believe that it is bad to celebrate, it is bad to eat, it is bad to enjoy, than it is to just have the ham and the turkey and the cake. Because the reality is you live in your brain every single day, and that lasting trauma is going to stick around and magnify. You don't eat Thanksgiving food every single day. And if you did, that is your business and your business alone. But odds are you don't eat like that every single day. So lean into just what feels good, what feels fun, what feels celebratory, because there is a benefit from just letting your body be without constantly every single day being worried about how to make it smaller. I know that food is hard. I know that Thanksgiving is hard. I know that it feels like everybody is watching you eat. Everybody is paying attention to you. And if they are, you're allowed to tell them to fuck off. But odds are, my love, they're not. And if after Thanksgiving you go home and you need a few days to not text anybody back, you need a few days to just lay in silence, if you need to leave Thanksgiving a little bit early so that you can have the rest of the day to just relax, that's okay. You can take whatever you need after the holidays. You can take whatever you need. You can have the best family in the world and still need some time to decompress. You can have the best Thanksgiving you've ever had and still need some time to be by yourself and to calm down and to recenter. That is totally fine. You're not bad for needing that. It doesn't make you a bad person to spend time with family, and then after the joy of it and the celebration of it, you need time to be by yourself and recenter. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate your family. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you don't want to spend time with them. It simply means you're an individual. You are a full person in and of yourself, and you have individual needs that extend outside of the needs and the desires of the family being together. To finish up, I just want to remind you that whatever holiday you're dreaming of, whatever your ideal perfect holiday is, you deserve to have that. And I do hope you find it. And I do hope until you have that, you refuse to put yourself in situations that only push you farther away from that reality, because you do deserve celebration, you do deserve goodness, you do deserve community, and you do deserve to have the things that you want. But I hope that you had a good Thanksgiving. I hope that some of this helped you make decisions that you want to make about how you spend your Christmas. And I hope that it helped you just decompress and remind yourself that it's okay to need space. It's okay to need time by yourself after Thanksgiving, after the holidays. You're not bad for doing that. You're not bad at all. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. I love you so much, and I'm on your side.